is Shawna, and I'm the host of the Adelaide Cottage podcast. I will be chatting with you about knitting, sewing, hand dyeing yarn, and now quilting. So welcome. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for checking out my podcast. And if you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back. You can find me on Ravelry and on Instagram as Adelaide Cottage. And on Ravelry, I also have a group that you can join, and that's where I put my show notes for each episode. So be sure to join. You can find it in the groups tab on Ravelry. And yeah, I usually podcast on Mondays, but there was a bit of construction going on behind me. My sweet, sweet husband agreed to build me a shelf to store all my craft supplies, and he made it to match the desk that he made, which is also behind me. So I'm very excited about it. I think he did a really good job. So yeah, I'm podcasting today. We thought we'd have a snow day for my two boys. We thought schools would be closed, but they're not. School is in session. We got about 1.5 feet of snow overnight, so I really thought I'd get a phone call in the middle of the night or early morning saying that school would be closed, but that's okay. When they get home, I'm going to get their snowsuits on them and let them play around in the snow and have fun and build a snowman. Our youngest is 2.5, and this will be the first year that he's able to really go outside for somewhat longer periods of time. Last year he was far too little to stay out there and really play in the snow, so it's going to be fun to watch him this year play with his big brother. We have a snowman kit that comes with buttons and a carrot nose and a scarf and a hat and things to make eyes and a mouth. So I'm sure they'll bring that outside with them. So yeah, over the weekend, this last weekend, I went to a baby shower for my cousin. My sister-in-law threw it for her, and it was really, really nice. It was a Winnie the Pooh theme, so the cupcakes had the frosting look like a glob of honey, and then there was a bumblebee on top. Super cute. But we played a game, and I won, and the prize was this cute coffee mug with cute little hearts on it, which is especially nice for Valentine's Day coming up. So yeah, I've been sick actually most of the week. I feel like my husband and I keep giving it back to each other, so we have a no kissing rule going on for a little while. But just a yucky cough and sneezing, stuffy nose, just fatigue, not feeling so hot. So I'm hoping we're all on the mend, and I know a lot of people have colds right now, so I've been drinking lots of tea with honey in it and trying to stay hydrated and rest, but also finding time for knitting and crafting. It's a must. But today I'm drinking coffee. It's my first cup. I haven't had a chance to really sit down and drink it all yet, so I'll be drinking here and there. I'm going to first start off by showing you, what do I have? I have 2 works in progress and 2 new cast-ons, which are really exciting. And then I'm going to show you some quilting that I've been doing, which I'm very excited about and thinking of it. Oh yes, I do have the book. The first project is my Summer in Province cowl that I'm knitting for my aunt by Kalura Hudson. Knitting it out of my Adelaide Cottage yarn in the sugar plum colorway. And here's the yarn all caked up. And I am knitting this on US size 5 Carbon's interchangeable needles. And the last time I podcasted, I had the first lace section completed, and I was up to this purl row here. So I was able to do a few more rows of the second repeat of lace. And this keeps curling. I'm hoping it won't do that once it's blocked. But there's kind of like a swirly pattern down here. I like it. This will be nice for her probably for more spring, summertime weather because there's a lot of lace in it, or, you know, indoors. So I'm not in a rush to get it done, but it is very fun to knit. There's some 1x1 cabling in here. I don't think I'm crazy about that. I have to be honest, I've never really knit cabling before. This is my first project that has it in it. And I find it a lot of work to just put one stitch on a cable needle. You know, I think that there should be more than one, but I'm still enjoying it. I like the little flecks of color in here. That's kind of hard to see. There you can see some blue and red and plum. So yeah, that's one of my works in progress. My other one, it's a sad work in progress, you guys. I started knitting my first pair of socks for my husband out of the Knit Picks Felici yarn in the Baker Street colorway. And if you can see, I had to rip back and I kind of rewound the yarn. I knit the foot of the sock way too long for him. So I had gotten to the top of the heel, picked up the gusset stitches, and realized it. So I ripped it back to just below the heel. And so I'm still, not the foot. I didn't knit the foot too long. I knit the cuff too long. They were going to be way too high up. So I ripped it back, and now I'm wondering if I should just start over. I feel like the gauge is really loose on these. I feel like, what size needle did I use? I have to find one of these Carbon's needles that have still some print on them. Okay, so US 1.5 or 2.5 millimeters. I'm wondering if I need to go down a little bit. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think in the episode thread. This is my first pair of socks, so I really don't know how tight the gauge is supposed to be, really. I don't know. I'm not going to rip them back just yet, but that's my other work in progress. But I really like the Felici yarn. It's really soft. I showed you in a previous podcast, I bought quite a few colorways in that yarn. The Tea Party colorway, the Nassau colorway, and quite a few of the Baker Street colorway. Let's see what else I have to show you. My cowl. Okay, so this is a new cast on, and it's in my Adelaide Cottage project bag, and I love this fabric. It's like old recipes. Let's see. Milk chocolate brownie, sugar cookies, the very best apple pie at the bottom. I love it. I used to have a little cookie zipper pull on here, but I'm using it as a progress keeper right now. So I decided to cast on a sock head hat for my son Aiden, my 8-year-old. I knit him a hat last winter when I was in the hospital, but it's becoming too small on him. It doesn't cover his ears, and he's complaining that it's kind of itchy. And I used Cascade 220 for that hat. It's a super bulky one. I don't remember the colorway name, but it's like red and dark gray and light gray. So I decided to cast him on a sockhead hat, and for those of you who don't know what it looks like, it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's a slouchier hat, but he has asked for a pom-pom, so I'll put a pom-pom on the end. It's a really big ribbed cuff, or brim, I should say. So for that, I am using my Campside colorway, and it's 50% silk, 50% non-superwash merino, so it's shiny. Let's see if I can get a good angle. There we go. So there's really pretty bluish green. I would say like a sea green, some darker shades of it, like a fawn brown. So he really liked this color. So I cast on with this one, and I've been knitting away on it. It's just a 2x2 ribbing. And I'm also using Carbon's interchangeables for this. What size are they? US 2.5 or 3 millimeter. Excuse me. And I had a little mishap with one of my needles, actually. There we go. So this is how it looks. And it fits around his head so far. I tried it on, but it's very stretchy with the 2x2 ribbing. But one of my metal tips of my needles came off when I was knitting, and I was really frustrated because this is actually the first time using this size in the set that I bought. So, and I don't have any more interchangeables in this size, so I was starting to panic. I was a little bit frustrated that I couldn't work on these until I contacted Knitter's Pride, and I just prayed that they would send me a new needle, because I ordered them on Amazon, but it was such a long time ago that it's not even in my profile anymore to be able to return them. And I don't want to return the whole set just for one needle tip being broken. So I went to my husband, Mr. Crafty. Now, he's a pharmacist, and crafting is not like, it's not like he works carpentry or fixes things all the time. Pharmacy is completely opposite from that. But I don't know, it's just a gift that he found, that he's able to build things with wood. And do a really nice job at it. I think his dad taught him a lot of what he knows. But yeah, I digress. He was able to fix my needle tip. I don't know what kind of magical potion he put on there, but it wasn't super glue. But it's back on there, and it's knitting fine. The join is perfect again, and everything like that. So yeah, I'm enjoying this. It's a very simple pattern, so it's great for beginners. And experienced knitters. I think the next one I do, I'm going to add some color work to it. But for this one, it's just going to be a plain, just one colorway. So I'm enjoying that one. And my next item that I cast on is, are you ready? Drum roll, please. My Cozy Memories blanket. Yay! I'm so excited that I cast this on. Let's see, this square was the first square I cast on. I cast on 40 stitches, and I'm showing it to you backwards. And this is one of the first colorways that I dyed up. It's my pink lemonade colorway. And then this was a mini given to me by my cousin, and so was this one. And I'm using my cute little donut stitch marker on my Carbon straight needles. And these are size US 2 or 2.75 millimeter. And these are these the 7-inch ones? I don't know. I have to check on that. And then I have one more mini left, and it's my the yarn that I knit my windswept shawl out of. The Bijou Basin Ranch Himalayan Trail. It's got yak down and superfine merino in it in the claret colorway. So I have enough to do one more square, and then I have to find more minis, or break some of my yarn up into minis. So I'm loving that. The pattern I'm using for it is called the Memory Blanket, Making a Modular Mitered Square Blanket by Georgie Helam. I found it on Ravelry. I know there's a bunch of different twists to this blanket, things that you can do with it. You can have your lines going all different ways, or all diagonal, parallel to each other. I'm doing it that way. I'm just having them all parallel to each other. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited. I think that this will be a nice go-to project if I want to knit, but I don't really want to concentrate too much. And I love how, each square brings back a memory, either of the person who gave you that yarn or something you knit up with it. And I guess that's why they call it the Cozy Memories blanket. I know that Danny from Little Bobbins just finished hers, and I believe she's gifting it to her mom, and I think that that is so special. I was watching her latest podcast last night, and her blanket came out amazing. And she also wants to cast another one on, and I remember her saying that she recommends tying in the ends as you go and not leaving them, because it took her something like 10 hours to tie in her ends when she was done knitting the blanket. Danny, I have to listen to your advice. I will definitely be weaving in as I go, because I don't want to do that to myself in the end. But yeah, I've been really enjoying watching all of the Cozy Memories blankets being knit up by other podcasters and friends on Instagram, and I am so thrilled to be able to knit one. And in here I have my really awesome hand lotion by The Naked Bee. I showed it on my podcast in one of the beginning episodes, but I was having focusing issues, so you guys couldn't really see the front of it. There we go. But it's sunflower, beeswax, and shea butter. And I got this at one of the KOAs, one of the campgrounds, a KOA campground in Pennsylvania. We were at the gift shop, and they had these on the counter, and I just had to buy one. It smelled so good. I love it. All natural products, no animal testing. There's cocoa butter, shea butter, organic sunflower seed oil, and beeswax in it. And my hands have been so dry this winter. I'm getting cracks right in the corners of my thumbs. I don't know why. But this is definitely helping. So I keep that in there, and my Burt's Bees lip balm. Project bags are so fun. And my memory blanket for now is in this cute bag that my cousin sewed up for me. We did a project bag swap, and she did a really nice job. I'm hoping to get my hands on one of Molly from A Homespun House's Cozy Memory Blanket kits that she's going to be selling. I believe they go on sale tomorrow, so I'm definitely going to hop online and try to purchase one of those. So that's it for knitting. It's the Cozy Memories blanket, the cowl, the really sad socks, and my son's hat. And I have quilting to show you. Let me just grab my book. So this book was recommended by Sarah from the Love Sock Wool podcast. It's the Quilt-As-You-Go Made Modern by Jara Brandvig. And she mentioned it back in August, and I bought it immediately from Amazon. I think it's something like $12. It's worth every single penny. Definitely go grab yourself a copy if you haven't already and you're interested in quilting. So basically this technique is, so with a regular quilt, you quilt the whole top of the quilt first, and it's difficult to kind of maneuver that huge quilt through your sewing machine. And it's kind of hard to stop the project and then start it back up again. It's more tedious, I think. There's very precise fabric cutting measurements and precise placement of the fabric, and I have a lot of respect for that. People that are able to do that, but that is what actually kept me away from trying to quilt, I think, is not being sure about... I don't have the patience, not that I don't have the patience, I don't have the time right now with the children being so small to cut out hundreds of pieces of fabric in certain shapes and precise measurements. So this Quilt-As-You-Go technique basically allows you, first you cut your batting squares to the size you want. You cut them into small squares, usually 9.5 or 12.5 inch blocks. And then you quilt each block separately. So you design the block. For me, I just bought a jelly roll of Little House on the Prairie fabric. So it's already cut into 2.5 by 44 inch strips. And literally one block took me about 10 or 15 minutes. And for the blanket that I'm making, I have to quilt 30 blocks. I'm making a rather large quilt, but you can make a quilt a lot smaller and get it done faster. So I think in one day I did 5 blocks, which was awesome. It was so much fun. I didn't want to stop doing it. You could just place your fabric wherever you want, do whatever you want. I don't think I measured anything other than cutting the batting, so it was really, really nice. So yeah, this book is so super awesome, and I have my page marked with my bookmark of my little boys. They're just acting like goofs at the museum, making funny faces. This was the first time that Evan, the smaller one, made funny faces for pictures. So yeah, I love it. And I was talking to a fellow crafter, and she mentioned that it's interesting with knitters that usually when you learn how to do a craft, you love to create things. And then that craft turns into trying another craft and then another craft. And it just kind of keeps going, and you end up loving multiple crafts sometimes. So it's really fun. I started with knitting, like I said, in the hospital, and then when I came home, I wanted to sew. I wanted to make, my own project bags and start to learn how to knit garments or sew garments. So that's when my husband built my desk behind me. And then the sewing turned into quilting, and now I want to start making my own wool washes, and the knitting also turned into dyeing my own yarn. So I'm kind of doing a lot of crafts now, and it's something that this feeling that I have right now is the feeling I was chasing after when I was a younger adult. All of the collecting of craft supplies that I did, but never knowing how to begin crafting, when I would go and buy supplies, I would feel like this excitement that I wanted to try it and make something, but I never knew how to do it. And things like YouTube and Craftsy weren't around then. So yeah, that's how that happened. I keep diving off the subject, but I want to show you the quilt blocks that I've made so far. This was something that I bought back in 2005 when I had no idea how to quilt or sew or knit or anything. I would just buy supplies. So it's just a quilt block holder, and it zips closed, and the zipper pulls a little quilt. I bought it at Joann Fabrics, I think, a while back. And in here I keep all my batting squares and my finished blocks. So this is the first one. So it's the Little House on the Prairie. And this is the log cabin design. There's so many different patterns in the book. Not patterns, but just directions if you want certain look to your quilt. So that one I kind of did more blues and creams. And this fabric actually was not part of the collection. This fabric is very special to me because when I first started to learn, or when I first learned how to make project bags, my mom really wanted a bag for her purse. Not really a project bag because she didn't knit, but just a zipper pouch really to go in her purse because she always carried Kleenex with her and little notes for herself and pens, and I wanted her to pick her own fabric out for it, and she loves blue. So I went with her, or I took her to Joann Fabrics to pick out her own fabric, and this is the fabric that she picked. So that was our first time at Joann Fabrics together, and it was a lot of fun. It's a really nice memory, and I still have that bag now. Although she passed, I will keep it forever. And then this one is more yellows and creams. And it's got Laura running through the fields and the Little House on the Prairie logo on the bottom. And this one's like grays and creams. Reds and browns and golds. And then this was the first block I ever did. It really doesn't have much color coordination. I was just kind of messing around, playing with it. So you just do one block at a time, which is awesome. So if you have 15 or 20 minutes one day, you just sit down and make a block and quilt it. And then once it's done, the book shows you how to sew all of your blocks together into a quilt. The batting is already there, so you don't have to sandwich anything together. You just put your quilt backing on, you sew it right sides together, flip it inside out, and then you can put binding over it if you want. Otherwise, you can just leave it how it is. So I see myself making so many quilts in the near future. I'm addicted to looking for fabric now. Jelly rolls, they are the best thing ever. Like, seriously. It makes it so much easier to make a quilt with jelly rolls. And there's also charm packs and layer cakes and all these really fun words for pre-cut fabric for quilting. So I purchased mine from Missouri Star Quilt Company, and that was recommended by Sarah from Love Sockwill. I had reached out to her to ask where a good place was to buy jelly rolls, and she recommended there. And there are also sellers on Etsy. Fabric.com has some. So yeah, I put a few bags in the shop last week. I am not doing any Valentine's Day bags, but I'm doing lots and lots of springtime bags. So I have the fabric already. It's so cute and so much fun. There are going to be a few Easter ones, and then just springtime ones with birds. And I know that it's still winter and will be for a while, but I always look forward to springtime, and I don't know, the bright, fun fabrics just brighten my day. So I bought a bunch of it, and I'm going to start making bags soon and offering kits with a project bag and a skein of yarn and maybe some stitch markers. There are stitch markers in the shop right now if you go check it out on Etsy. And yeah, I think that's all I have for you this week. I'm probably not going to podcast on Monday because it's only a few days away, but I might podcast next week Thursday if I have enough to show you. Otherwise, it will be the following Monday, so it'll be a week and a half from now. So yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to talk to you next week or the Monday after. Bye.